My wife of 10 years divorced me for cheating on her, emptied out the house, and went out of her way to make my life a living hell. Except I never cheated in the first place. My wife and I were together for 10 years, and throughout our entire relationship, she always suspected me of cheating on her. The first time she accused me of cheating on her, about 2 years into the relationship, I was so upset she could think I was capable of something like this that I started crying on the spot. But I work in a career field where cheating is rampant, and I travel a lot for work, so I understood where that insecurity might come from. I always believed that if I demonstrated myself as a loyal and faithful husband, that eventually she would realize that this belief was misplaced. But instead it seemed to get worse over the years. These conversations and accusations would always lead to fights, and became more and more frequent over time. About 2 years ago, she became even more convinced and would say things like, "I know you're cheating on me, and it has been really difficult for me to come to terms with it and forgive you." Everyday activities became proof of my infidelity. If I worked late, it was because I was actually out meeting my affair partner. If I woke up early to go for a run, I was actually meeting her for a 6 a.m. quickie. When my motorcycle was vandalized, it was a jilted ex-lover. I demanded that we go to couples counseling, and she refused, saying, "Why should I have to go to counseling? You're the one that's doing it." She would give examples such as the fact that I pleasure myself 3 to 5 times per week as evidence that I was addicted to sex, and suggested that I join a Sexaholics Anonymous group. About 6 months ago, I was away on a work trip, and she texted me, "I finally found the proof that you're cheating on me like I had always suspected," and emailed me divorce paperwork. I was dumbfounded and asked her to tell me what proof she was referring to, but she replied, "It's not my job to share that with you. It's your job to prove to me that you're not cheating." I immediately came home to find that she had already moved out and taken everything in the house with her. We had a portrait of ourselves commissioned, and she had left it behind with her face cut out of it and "cheater" scrawled across my face. Over the next few weeks, she contacted all my friends, family, and coworkers to tell them that I had been cheating on her for years, and that she was finally leaving me after no longer being able to deal with it anymore. I lost a lot of friends who took her at her word, and had to have so many uncomfortable conversations with others. Among those that decided not to cut me out of my life, I have no idea who even believes me. I had to sit down with HR at work, because my coworkers had filed complaints because they were being harassed by my ex. I had to dip into my retirement savings to pay for a divorce lawyer and replace everything in the house that had been taken. If she had simply decided to leave me, I would have been heartbroken but would have accepted it. Hell, if she was cheating on me, I would have been more upset but could have come to terms with it. But I feel like such a victim, if that's the right word, to have did my best to be a good husband and demonstrate to her that I was loyal and still be punished for something that never happened. I feel so stupid for failing to notice how serious these accusations were, for thinking that ignoring them would not make them go away. And somehow I also blame myself for not insisting that we address this issue years ago when it might have still been salvageable. My entire life was destroyed over nothing. Edit. For those wondering how this could have gone on for so long, it's not always easy to notice the water boiling around you. We had a wonderful marriage for years, with some accusations that we were always seemingly able to resolve. It slowly got worse over time, but the relationship otherwise seemed solid. I do think I failed to recognize how serious this was, but we showed love and loyalty to each other at other times, and I naively thought that this issue was getting resolved. Little did I know it was festering under the surface. But to make it seem like I was dealing with this constantly was not the case. We were for the most part very happy with each other, which made this even more shocking. I have already talked to a lawyer about defamation and theft. None of what she did was illegal. I did not have any tangible damages that I can sue for defamation over. I did not lose my job, get passed over for promotion, etc. Ultimately, my coworkers may know me as someone who dragged my drama into work, but otherwise my career is still intact. It's not illegal to badmouth me to friends and family. It was not theft to take our belongings while I was gone. Specifically, it was not theft because we were still married when she took everything. If we had divorced and spelled out what was mine and hers, and then she took my stuff, it would have been theft. I was able to adjust the final separation agreement to account for half the value of the household goods when we divorced, but obviously that doesn't account for sentimental value. And of course it's nearly impossible to truly account for every item in a house, so I got much less than half the true value. She probably has some form of bipolar disorder, which drove a lot of this behavior. My lawyer did ask for proof of the cheating, which she did not have. It was all made up in her head. Her evidence included quotes from true crime podcasts, for example, and clearly suggested mental illness. She actually did start therapy a few years ago, which helped immensely, but then she abruptly stopped, and everything got so much worse. We're in a no-fault state, so in the end it doesn't matter whether I was cheating, whether she was lying, whether there was proof or not. None of that had any legal bearing on the divorce. I still hold a lot of regret during this time, and I wish I could go back to before this all happened to try and plead my innocence. But my therapist told me that something like this was inevitable due to my wife's mental struggles. We no longer contact, but I get updates from time to time, and I still wish her all the best in recovery. On to our second story. My parents chose my adopted brother over me and kicked me out at 18. Now they want to reconnect, but I've realized I'm better off without them. I've been holding this in for so long, and I think I'm finally ready to share. This might be a bit long, but I need to get this out. I was an only child until I was 12 when my parents adopted my brother, Marcus. He was 8 at the time, and from the moment he arrived, everything changed. Don't get me wrong. I was excited to have a sibling, and Marcus was a sweet kid. The problem wasn't with him. It was with my parents. They completely transformed into different people. Every achievement of Marcus's was celebrated like he'd won an Olympic medal. My straight A's? They just nod and say, "That's expected of you." When he struggled in school, they hired tutors and spent hours helping him. When I needed help with advanced placement classes, they told me I was smart enough to figure it out on my own. The real turning point came during my senior year of high school. I got accepted into my dream university with a partial scholarship, but it still required significant financial help. When I brought up the college fund they'd been saving for me since I was born, they dropped the bomb. They'd used most of it for Marcus's private school and therapy sessions. Their explanation? Marcus needs it more than you do. You're naturally gifted. You'll figure something out. I was devastated. The night I confronted them about it turned into a massive argument. They accused me of being selfish, of not understanding Marcus's needs, of being jealous. My mother actually said, "Marcus came from nothing, and you've had everything handed to you." Everything handed to me? I worked part-time jobs since I was 16, maintained perfect grades, and volunteered at the local library. None of that seemed to matter. The final straw came when I overheard them talking about selling my grandmother's jewelry, pieces she had specifically left for me, to fund Marcus's summer camp. When I protested, my father told me I needed to leave their house if I couldn't be supportive of this family. So I left. I was 18, scared but determined. I moved in with my best friend's family temporarily, took out student loans, worked 2 jobs, and somehow made it through college. It was hard, really hard, but I did it. Fast forward 7 years. I'm now 25, have a fantastic job in software development, own my home, and am engaged to a wonderful person who supports me completely. I built a chosen family of friends who value me for who I am. Yesterday, I received a long email from my parents. Marcus is now in college himself, and apparently, seeing him leave home made them realize their mistakes. They wrote about how sorry they are, how they want to make amends, how they miss their daughter. Here's the thing, I don't miss them. I've spent years in therapy working through the pain and abandonment. I've created a beautiful life without them. Their email didn't make me feel sad or angry. It made me feel nothing at all. I'm not writing this because I want advice about whether to respond. I know I won't. I'm writing this because for the first time, I truly understand that I didn't deserve what they did to me. I was a child who needed love and support, and they failed me. But I didn't fail myself. To anyone out there feeling like the outsider in their own family, it gets better. You can build your own happiness. You can create your own family. And sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is walk away and not look back. My therapist says I should be proud of how far I've come. Today, I finally am. What did you think of these stories? Let me know your thoughts about them in the comments, and thanks for listening.